I like the kiddie stage. It feels dirty. I just got my bangs cut. I have to be honest. I feel very Robert Plant. Do you think? Ramble on. I haven't had them before, so it's a little. There's something right here. I keep being like, who is it? And it's like, oh, it's me. So we'll get used to it. I'm very excited to be here. I wore my rubber coat, so you know that I care. I love pleather. When it's a big event, I'm like, pleather. Get the pleather out. Just don't light any candles by me. I'm originally from Maine, which is northern Maine, very rural. I feel one of the hardest parts of moving to the city is getting used to the subway and people like yelling at you in public. Right? That's not, from a small town, you get so excited to see anybody. You're just like, oh my God, you're another person. What's your life like? Come into my house. Right? And then you move here and you have to develop this face that's sort of just like, fuck off. You know what I mean? And I'm like, come over. That's my face. And I feel like it takes a lot of people jerking off on your leg on the subway to sort of close that down. Right? It's a lot like I never yelled at a stranger before moving to New York City. Who does that besides everyone in the city? I went home and yelled at my family. That's what our family does, But here, I get angry, but I handle it like a normal person. You know what I mean? I'll go home, I'll put in Lord of the Rings 2 Towers. Right, I fast forwarded to isn't that the best of the 3? Thank you. The second one is the best one, but we'll allow you to have a difference of opinion because it's America and our country's in a shithole. So if you like Fellowship, you can like Fellowship. At this point, that's not the biggest divide. As long as it's not Return of the King, I think we're all on board. But if you haven't seen Lord, I feel like this was just for us. The rest of you are like, well, what are those nerds talking about? Star Trek conventions. I can't sum up the whole trilogy, but there's this moment in 2 Towers where Gandalf said, I have some stuff I have to do. I'll be back in 5 days at dawn from the east. And then he shows up 5 days later at dawn from the east. And you're like, that's a man shows up when he said he was gonna. Right, and you start crying, and then you go to your cabinet and you take out any bread product you own and you just shove it in your face until all the feelings get pushed back down. Right? You just shove it in. You're like, I can make it here. I don't need a washer dryer. Everything's gonna be all right. Right, until you get to the last bite. You can't eat the last bite. That's the rules. Right, you gotta throw it in the trash can. And then you make direct eye contact with it. Then I'll just walk around my trash like, you don't own me! Yes. So I do it. But then sometimes I'll pour water on it, just in case I get real sad later. You know what I mean? I go in there for soggy bread. I'll go in there for dirty bread. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, is that some coffee rinds? I'll dust that shit off. But I feel like that's how I handled my anger when I first moved here. But then I feel like you get pushed and pushed until eventually it all just comes out. Right? For me, it happened on the R train, which, right, I think a lot of people fall from grace on that line. It's just depressing. I was walking on, this man was coming off, he looked like Eminem. Right, the rapper. Not the candy. I need to be specific because there are people here that dress up like Eminem candies and work in Times Square. Right, you see him, you're like, liberal arts degree. But that would be a different story. And he looked like old Eminem, if you were visualizing. Like he was still back on 8 Mile with his mom's spaghetti on his hoodie. Not sober yet, is what I'm saying, if you haven't watched the movie. It's a great movie. So I'm going on the train. This guy's coming off, looks me in my face and goes, hey, you got some big feet. Which is just, I'm not offended. Doesn't hurt my feelings. If anything, I'm just curious. You want to be like, what? Why is this guy mad at feet? Right, did he get beat up by clowns? I'm interested. But my therapist said, stop engaging with crazy. Right, because once you engage with crazy, you've lost. Crazy is never like, oh my God, I just never thought about it from your point of view before. Right, so I kept walking. I just walked by him. He stepped into my face and goes, I said you got some big feet. At which point you're like, oh shit, this is an emergency. I must have huge feet. My friends didn't know how to tell me. They hired this crazy asshole to come yell at me. Right, and then I was like, no. Even if you have big feet, you're not public property. Right, women didn't rally at Seneca Falls so this guy could come and give you his opinions on your feet. No way, right? I'm making plans. I'm gonna buy extra large boots. I'm gonna put big socks in there. I'm gonna big feet walk all over this city just to prove a political point. But I do none of that. I just look at him and I go, oh, thank you. And I'm terrified of public confrontation. I can't, no way. I just step around him, like, not today, right? This guy turns around, follows me onto the train. And I feel like this is where my life in New York changed. Follows me, gets on the train, the doors close, and I hear, hey, big feet. And then he starts amping up. He's like, big feet. She's got big feet, big feet. And in my mind, I was like, this is not about you. Right? Your therapist would say, this is not about you. This is his thing. You read the 4 agreements. You're not supposed to take anything personally. Go home. We'll watch the whole trilogy. We'll eat an ice cream cake. We're not freaking out in public. But then he starts going, big feet. Is he the count? He's like, 1 big foot, 2 big feet, It's just so random, and I'm confused, I'm angry, right? At this point, everybody is on the, you know like how people turn and stare, but it's not like in a helpful way. You know what I mean? And when you're in your subway car, they're in like should we film this in case she flips out? You know what I mean? They're ready to get their phones out. And so I'm like trying to keep it in, but he keeps going, And like this heat just starts coming up in my stomach. I assume it's an ulcer. It's like a burning. And then water just starts running out of my eyes. And it's not like a tear. It's like a sheet of water. I assume it's backed up liquid violence, right? That's just like been boiling in there from every time I hold the door for someone in this city and they don't say thank you, right? You go to hold the door and you're like, oh yeah. And then one person walks through and then it's like a magical bus stopped. Right, and all of a sudden there's 1,000 people that weren't there before and they're all walking through that door and nobody says thank you. And you're just standing there like, have a good day, have a good day, have a good day. And you want to be like, what is wrong with you? Who raised you? You're such assholes! But instead you're like, I'm turning the other cheek. And it's all just sitting in there, burning until someone's on the subway behind you going, big feet. So at this point I just turn around, I stared around and I was like, yeah, I got big feet! Do you know I have big feet? Because I got a huge dick, buddy! Thank you. And then this is where I got really weird. Having never screamed in my life, I scream, I have a big dick. And then my body was like, we got it from here. I just went into a squat on the train, just like a catcher squat, you know what I mean? And I don't think there was a plan. But I would like to believe that deep down inside, my subconscious was like, let's show everybody how big your dick is. Right? Like, that you can't stand up straight kind of a dick. You know what I mean? Like, it's pulling you down to the ground because your center of gravity is just, you know what I mean? Like, I got a blister on my ankle kind of a dick. I'm weary. And then I leaned forward and I made direct eye contact with him. Have you ever accidentally made eye contact with a stranger's dog when it was pooping? Not on purpose. You're not a pervert. You know what I mean? You just walk down the street, you see a cute dog. I always say hi to dogs, which maybe in retrospect is like rude to the person, but I get so excited. You're like, hey! And this dog, you know, when they're in the little squat, it's the little dogs you realize, and you're like, and then the one leg is shaking, you know, when the one leg is shaking, and they're looking up at you with the eye that's all pupil because they're just so hard, you know? And then you realize what you've done, you realize what you've interrupted. I actually said I was sorry out loud. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This was you time, and I didn't mean to look. And then the dog looked back at me like, did you want to watch me shit? Watch me shit! And then it locked eyes with me, and then just started pooping. This happened on the corner of Steinway and 34th, terrorizing. I was like, I said I was sorry! I crossed the street, the dog's still staring at me, dragging its ass down the street. Nobody else has had this happen to them. It's terrifying. I channeled that dog when on the train. I'm squatted. I just stared at him, stuck my hand into my own pants, as if this was the moment I was gonna prove it to the entire train car. And I don't have a penis. I leave it in my drawer. I'm not carrying it on the subway. But I stared and I imagined it so hard. I've read The Secret, right? If you want something, you have to positive visualize the details. That's what Oprah tells me. You want something, you positive visualize the details. So I saw my penis, you know what I mean? So my hand out and then I pulled out this handful of air, way too big, but I was like, I'm from the country, you know what I mean? I feel like I'd have a big dick because of that. I don't know why, it's just, and then but I saw it had the angry vein on it. My favorite part of the penis. I feel like that vein, So it looks like it's thinking. You know what I mean? Every time I see it, I'm like, are you taking a math test? What? Do you need a number 2 pencil? Why are you so serious? You know, I just love it. It's like a little mountain range. I just can't. I saw that, and then my penis was slightly tanner than me. That was the other thing I visualized. So I feel like that's the general rule, right? So it's shader than, like, darker than the dude wearing it. That seems to be, in general. I like to imagine that guys get together in groups and they're like, let's take our dicks tanning. That's what I like to visualize. Because it's like a group bonding experience. You know, I feel like that's nice. So I'm in the middle of the train, I'm squatted, I'm still crying, my lip is sweating, my lip always sweats, and I just start jerking off a handful of air on a packed R train on an afternoon. Did you want some of this? Did you want some of this? Yeah, I got a big dick! You're so rude! I got big feet! Ah! And then I stepped forward, and then I released my demon seed onto the whole car. But I feel like that's the day I became a New Yorker. That's when it happened. Thank you. This guy was into it. I terrified this lady. Some of you are with me. Some of you don't have anger management problems, which I have a great therapist. I know you're like, does she see a therapist? I do every Wednesday. My appointment's at 4. I like to go in at 12, 12:30. Just sort of eyeball the competition in the waiting room. You know what I mean? Let him know I'm the favorite. I live with my boyfriend. I know you're like, he's so lucky. We've now been together 10 years. It's our 10-year anniversary. And I feel like people talk about how love changes. I feel like you start loving different things about a person that you would never think that you love about somebody. Like, I love when he comes out of the bathroom late at night, got a little wet spot on his boxer briefs. Because I feel like that's a thing we share together. Because when we first moved in together, I didn't know what it was. I thought there was a pipe loose in our bathroom. Right, and then I figured out it's a pee spot. He pees a little bit after he pees. Come on, how cute is that? Right, there's, I guess, like the regular pee, and then no matter how much he shakes it, there's just a little bit of pee that comes out after. It's like a shy pee. I mean, I've never peed on my own leg, and then thought, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it. You guys aren't on board with that. But I bet $100 that nobody in this room is wiping their dick. It just seems to be a very American thing that you're like, I don't need to do that. That's why I make more money per hour. I'm a man. I think women need to kill more people. I'm going to leave you on this one. Thank you. For equality, not for personal reasons, for the betterment of us as a group. We keep being like, we want equality, and then it doesn't happen. And I think it's because nobody's threatened by us. And I thought of this the other day. I was walking on the street. I was wearing a Steelers jersey. And a man walked up to me and said, excuse me, did you know that the Steelers is a football team? And I said, I don't think I understand your question. Right? Are you asking me if I don't understand my own clothes? But that's when it hit me. Oh, women need to kill more people. You guys, thank you so much. I'm Leah Bonnema. Do you want this one?
Leah Bonnema, ladies and gentlemen.